Lester, Tran, thank you. Great opportunity to be here this morning. I guess it is early in the morning, and we do need to be enthusiastic. So let's energize the room a little bit, because first of all, thank you all for being out here first thing in the morning. This is no small thing that each of you, as you're trying to grow your own businesses, were willing to take half a day out, especially on Monday. A lot of fires always to put out to start the week. So it looks like there's at least more than one person at about every table here. So I just want you to quickly find someone, find a neighbor, give them a high five and say thank you for being here.
Were we supposed to go to like other tables? Oh, we were? I don't know.
Fantastic.
You high five whoever you want, girl.
All right, there we go. All right. Well, no, truly, thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And as Lester mentioned, I'm going to just kind of highlight some of the leading trends and touch on a few tools as far as technology, digital marketing tools for retail. And we have some expert panels that will be up later to take a much deeper dive into some of these. But as he mentioned, one really trying to set the tone this morning with just what's out there, what you should be conscious of when it comes to the retail market. So first, trends. What are trends? Why trends? Why are we tracking these? First, I want to clarify. We're not talking about the latest styles or fads. That's not the kind of trend we're talking about. Consumer trends are deeper than that. It's crucial to stay on top of really what's driving consumer behavior, right? What are the wants and needs, and how are those changing over time? It's really important to see what's happening, out in the consumer market, what's happening out in the retail market, right? What are the technologies that are starting to really change behaviors of the market and of the consumers that we're shopping with? One handy tool that I like to lean on and presenting it here and also pointing out, I will have a follow-up with some of these resources, but trendwatching.com just happens to be they're one of the leading trend companies out there, so there's a number of companies that the corporations may pay to be the experts in trend watching and helping connect those dots when it comes to trends. But they have this very handy consumer trend canvas, really helping you analyze and how to apply some of these trends we find within our own businesses. And just to run through the bullet points there very quick, basic needs, we're looking for what are the deep consumer needs and desires that this trend is addressing, right? What are the drivers of change? Why is this trend happening now? What has changed in the market? Emerging consumer expectations. What new consumer needs, wants, and expectations are created by this change? And then inspiration, right? We want to look out as our own businesses and see what other people are using, right? How are other businesses applying these trends? Personally, I believe that beg, borrow, and steal is absolutely a valid path to innovation. And even the artist Pablo Picasso once said, "Good artists borrow and great artists steal." It's important to know what's being out there, what's being used out there, and how we can apply that to our own business. And then when it comes to application, right? Innovation potential. How can I apply that trend to my business? And then who? Who are new consumers that I may be able to attract or engage with because of these trends? I want to play a short video, and this one is very focused on artificial intelligence, kind of underneath all of these trends you'll see in a retail environment. But it's a great little short clip that shows a number of different trends that are starting to pop up in retail stores.
In a smart and AI-driven retail environment, John creates a list of items on his grocery app. John enters the store and is identified through facial recognition. His shopping list also gets activated. John now walks through the aisles where Smart Shelf signals the location of item on list. Tailored offers, complimentary items, and regular purchases that didn't make it to the list are highlighted. John receives personalized promotions on his phone. Tempted by a notification of discount on a product, John wishes to buy it. As he scans the package with his smartphone, an AR display reveals the origin of its contents, its nutrition information, and carbon footprint. Since he prefers organic and decides to buy it. Once John has bought all items, he simply puts his cart at the exit bay. All the items that he packs are billed, and he pays by a biometric-enabled scanner without waiting in any queue. In a smart and AI-driven retail environment, David plans his schedule using the store's bidding system that incentivizes staff by paying premium on busy days. In this smart environment, goods on shelves are monitored by sensors, and stocking and picking is taken care of by robot carts that glide silently and safely through the store. This frees up David to help customer find the location of items with the help of his handheld device. He can also pinpoint location of every item and analyze stock levels. The handheld device also provides him with information on each customer's preferences and hence helps him walk the extra mile in answering their questions, offering advice, and connecting with them.
So I am not a representative of Zendstar, but truly I think that is just a great clip that covers a number of different areas. And hopefully you saw some different trends in there, right? We're seeing not only consumer-facing, some trends using artificial intelligence and also augmented reality there, some of the overlay, but also some of the store-facing, right? How they're enabling their staff to better interact with customers, right? Helping them run their stores better. So just a quick agenda, if you will, for what I'm going to run through this morning. You see 5 different trends that I want to touch on, and then shift over to 5 different tools, kind of a blend of trends and tools this morning. And before I dive into that, I do want to address why me? Why am I up here telling you about these various trends? And just wanted to paint a quick background picture of just why innovation, marketing, and trends are important to me. So my current role, I'm a director of the Society of Innovators at Purdue Northwest over in Northwest Indiana. So this is an organization really helping drive the economy of the Northwest Indiana region through innovation, really tapping into entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So really it's a chance to have a front row seat for the innovation that's affecting companies in Northwest Indiana. Centric is an organization left earlier this year, very similar, down in Indianapolis, so focused on central Indiana. And again, spent the last few years having that front row seat to organizations like Rolls-Royce, Eli Lilly, One America Insurance. Really, what concerns are driving innovation within those organizations? And then the bulk of my professional background, Kiter Plastic and Spycomps, is in consumer products and retail. So I was the U.S. marketing director for 11 years for Kiter Plastic, one of the world's largest consumer product manufacturers based in plastic products. So they're the leading manufacturer for basically storage solutions for hardware, home, lawn, and garden. So things, toolboxes, storage sheds, outdoor furniture. And then Spycomps is the company I own, really focused on market research and pricing intelligence in the retail environment, so in store. So again, that keeps me close to what's happening, not only in retail stores, but also at the consumer level. So the first trend I want to touch on, drones and robots. All right, let's jump right to the future. But that future truly is happening now. We've certainly seen in the headlines, right, different maybe robots that are out there, in industry, certainly in the manufacturing side, robots really automating jobs in warehouses, but we're starting to see a lot more consumer applications, and also drones, right? We've seen Domino's, some of their videos trying to attempt pizza delivery on drones, but what is actually happening right now? So I got 3 really good examples of what's happening in the marketplace right now. Actually, just down the road in West Lafayette, Indiana. Just this fall semester, Purdue University and Amazon have partnered up where Amazon has new snack delivery bots. So very similar to this snack bot here. You see Amazon robots rolling around the Purdue campus down in West Lafayette delivering snacks to students. A couple of years ago, Amazon had opened one of their first brick and mortar convenience storefronts on the West Lafayette campus, so it was obviously a great partnership to help tap into the inventory that they keep there. And then Pepsi versus Coke. We're seeing that debate move into the 21st century as far as Pepsi versus Coke. But Pepsi launched a new line of snack bots. That's actually the picture that I did have in that previous slide. So very similar to the Amazon robots, just these little rolling robots to deliver snacks. And Coca-Cola, just this past summer, actually implemented some drink delivery robots in an amusement park near London in the UK. So obviously 2 companies that are very much thinking about, how do we start delivering snacks and beverages in the amusement park, right? Specifically more of a captive audience, right? At a theme park, maybe a concert, but certainly top of mind for them. And this literally just in the last week or 2, UPS, when it comes to drones, delivery drones are truly not that far off now. UPS and the Federal Aviation Administration just came to an agreement where the FAA approved the UPS to operate a drone airline and kind of last mile package delivery. So it is very likely that much sooner rather than later you're going to see UPS drop off small packages on your front step using drones. So thinking about all these trends, specifically here looking at drones and robots, and what products or services might you deliver using drones? What products or services might you be able to deliver in your neighborhood using small mobile robots? So the second one, again, keeping very high tech, AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality. Augmented reality, Pokemon Go is the easy go-to to help you understand what augmented reality is. Right, augmented reality is being able to hold up a device or technology hardware to really enhance or add to, complement the view you have in front of you. And there's plenty of applications starting to pop up in retail, and virtual reality as well. I would say VR is definitely being engaged with on the inside setting with corporations. You're starting to see team training. Rolls-Royce, for example, is using it for training some of their employees and getting into virtually work on different engines. And a couple interesting applications that do pop up. So the picture of the car here, this is Toyota. So they have this new augmented reality application to be able to basically test drive and really explore a car. In this setting, it's just on a table, in front of the consumer, being able to pull up, basically a 3D model, digital model of a car in front of you. And on the VR side, Tom's has this headset. This is actually a couple of years ago, where Tom's was really, big on giving and a lot of donations, and they had a Tom's giving box that went to children in Africa, and consumers were able to put on a Tom's headset and virtually visit these African villages as these packages were being delivered. So actually embedding consumers into that experience. And retailers, the retail industry is actually projected to be the #1 market or application for AR and VR, really by next year. And one prediction I found, by 2025, they're expecting the AR and VR market to be worth $1.6 billion in just the retail industry as far as applications. 1/3 of brands and retailers are actively using AR or VR, or plan to do so within 3 years. And you saw a couple of different examples there with Toyota and Tom's, but really, thinking about AR and VR, right? We're talking about personalizing the experience of the consumer. We mentioned employee training, customer engagement. We're able to test products. You're starting to see stores where maybe you're a virtual try-on. So walking into a Nordstrom or a Macy's and standing in front of a mirror and being able to see, okay, how do I look in the pink dress? How do I look in the purple dress? And you're actually able to put that over yourself virtually. IKEA, I think this was 2 or 3 years ago, they've launched an augmented reality app where you can pull up a couch or a clock and see how it looks in your specific room, right? You can start virtually decorating your space. So there are some very tangible applications that are already here, and certainly there's going to be a lot more to come. So with AR and VR, how might you enhance your store's product or service offering using some of these technologies? So in-store experience, I'm kind of shift away from technology a little bit, just kind of more of a general trend, right? That retail isn't dead, but boring retail certainly is. We see Nike, I think probably even here on Michigan Avenue, right? Some of these brand stores have really taken a deep dive into, look, these are experiential stores. This is not just your regular shopping mall store to come buy a pair of shoes, right? We're going to have a basketball court and maybe a track to see how fast you may be in a pair of shoes, and really diving into that experience, right? Making something memorable. And this is on the right, you see a little grocery store setting. This is actually FAO Schwartz. So this is one of certainly iconic toy retailer, and their New York Times, the New York Square store. When they went out of business and filed bankruptcy, they actually just came back earlier this year, creating a new experiential store in Times Square, where they've set up this little grocery store that kids can actually go shopping through, and really it's more true of an experience, more of a tourist stop than it is a store. And certainly, going deep into the piano you can walk on, and different, using technology to really revisit some of the experience of that. But you're seeing stores really dive into how do we create in-store experiences. And like I said, retail's not dead, but boring retail certainly is. And one reason this is important is, yes, we want to make stores sticky and memorable, but brick and mortar still matters. 90% of consumers still shop in brick and mortar. You go out 10, 20 years, you're still going to see 80% plus of consumers. Brick and mortar matters. We want that tangible feel of product in our hands. We want that personal interaction with other people we're shopping with and shopping from. But we're not going to be able to out Amazon, right? All of these, down to the lowest common denominator as far as price or availability, even the speediness of delivery, right? Some of those things we get caught up in chasing, but the reality is, how can you make your environment memorable and sticky for these consumers, right? You have to choose remarkable, you have to choose memorable. And I think another trend out there that is really driving this point home is you're seeing online brands moving offline. Right? Warby Parker is only increasing the number of brick and mortar stores it has around the country. Bonobos, Indochino, you're seeing these e-commerce stores investing in brick and mortar. That's not by accident, right? They know that it's still valid to have that storefront out there in the retail environment. And another very interesting one before I move on is Restore. This is a company in San Francisco, basically the WeWork for retail. They're creating a shared storefront for small brands, whether it be local brands, hardline brands to the local, or if it's online brands trying to move offline. But they're creating these more pop-up stores or collective pop-up stores for brands to engage with. So how might you add some excitement for consumers in your stores? So less stores. Certainly, taking the word for itself, there are less stores, right? So we see, stores going out of business, but certainly that's what I'm referring to here. But the two lesses, so we're seeing cashier less and inventory less stores. So I mentioned Amazon, right? I think we're all familiar with certainly all the big moves Amazon had made. And one of the most recent ones, these Amazon Go stores, no lines, no checkout, being able to just walk in, grab stuff off the shelf, and literally walk out because the app is automatically charging what you're grabbing. The whole environment is created through, embedded with artificial intelligence, being able to track every move that you're making in that store. And you're seeing that more and more. There's other retailers and restaurants in China doing this, but I think that's certainly when you're going to see Amazon scale with this and other stores starting to pick up on it. And Nordstrom Local, this is a newer line of their stores they started opening, but these are inventory-less showrooms that they're popping up in tiny spaces in cities like Chicago, where you're seeing people to come in, get fit by the tailor, try, look at the latest styles, but then you're ordering it to come later. They don't have the products there in-house. And so these inventory-free service hubs. And again, this is an area that is growing more and more. Certainly in cities, it's taking advantage of smaller footprints, right? The Amazon Goes, these are in some cases more shipping container type buildings that they're just popping down in different cities. So they're mobile and they're small, and these inventory-free service hubs, right? You don't need a very big storefront if all you have is a tailor to walk into and engage with. And then really on a mass scale too, the whole concept of this scan, bag, and go. Kroger, the largest grocer in the country, is really starting to roll out through all of their stores. And I know I live down in the Indianapolis market, and this is one we use on an active basis. But right, these stores are now, you're able to walk through the store and scan the stuff yourself and bypass the cashier and walk out. So right, what technologies are enabling all of this, and you're going to see more and more of that in stores throughout the country. So thinking of these two, how might you enable self-checkout in your store? What products do you think you'd be able to sell without the need for in-store inventory? And a final trend to touch on, personalized interactions, right? How are we using technology to really get to know our consumers and really engage people on that one-to-one level? You've heard of B2B and B2C, and one common trend out there is that you're hearing P2P, person to person, right? We're all now dealing with one shopper, one consumer, one person at a time, right? One human at a time, or H to H has been named out there. So here you see the gal in front of this Only Me counter. This is Vitamin Shops, right? National health supplement chain. They opened up a new innovation store in New Jersey near their headquarters that is a deep dive into personalization. So this Only Me is kind of the center of the store. You come in, take an Only Me personal health assessment, and then the rest of the store really opens up with personalized vitamin suggestions, personalized products. You've got mobile checkouts, so some of that cashierless aspect. So now you're kind of joining that premium service to be able to engage with the store digitally, and certainly one that will continue to roll out. And Spruce Spot, this one is actually fascinating, out of Colorado. Spruce Labs developed, call it the Amazon Alexa for customer experience. So they've got this Spruce Spot unit, you can see it there, a little white pyramid shape. Consumers walk in and there's a quick opt-in. You just go to the quick landing page, opt into this, right? There's none of this creepy, hey, let me give you my number, my firstborn's middle name. It's just a quick opt-in, and this allows store clerks to know who is shopping with them. It allows you to interact and really personalize and customize the products you may see. After that initial visit, it's allowing them to book shopping appointments. It's allowing those the store clerks to know, hey, Sally's coming in today. Or just walked in the store, so it's able to greet them by name. And this is becoming more and more important. It's actually 41% of consumers now expect associates to know about their previous purchases, right? We walk into, a retail, clothing store, we're a part of their shopping loyalty club. We walk into a Kroger where I'm scanning my Kroger card when I'm making my purchase. On some level, we do expect that they know some history about us, right? And we expect to be treated as such. That, hey, I'm making this return. It should be in your system. I shouldn't have to dig for receipts. It should just automatically be there, right? So, this personalization is only increasing in expectation, and I think because of all the technologies we've been using. The other layer to this, I mentioned Spruce Spot and Vitamin Shop, the AI-enabled product assortments and pricing. Right? How are we, starting to implement dynamic pricing in the retail store? Right? We see that different museums or tourist attractions may have different pricing, different times of the day during peak hours. You're starting to see that in the retail environment, right? Really personalizing for shoppers at a certain time of day or busy times, and being able to digital pricing on shelves. And even starting to create individual pricing for shoppers, right? I may come into the store and you come into the same store, we may get different prices. Certainly that exists in e-commerce, right? If you or I are on Amazon and different browsers, we may see a different price for the same product. So some of that personalization based on shopping history, they know how much we're worth, right? You see in the casino environment, they're going to pull up how much we're worth to the casino and get the perks that match that. And so I think we'll see that in the retail stores. So how can you use technology to better understand your consumers? So now I'm going to jump from trends, and as I mentioned, really more over to the tool side. And this first one certainly comes with an asterisk. We actually have an expert from Yelp later, so she can correct anything I'm able to tell you. But truly, she will do a much better job of really diving deeper into using Yelp for your business on how to drive that. But again, I did want to touch on this because it really is I would almost call a basic need type element for any business at this point. Right? If you're not on Yelp, why not? Honestly, it really is driving so much consumer interaction and really behavior. I know personally, if I'm in a different city or I want to try something new for dinner, for example, I'm going to pull up my Yelp app, and here I am in the moment of decision. Where do I go? And those reviews, how a business presents itself, all of those matter in where I may choose to actually drive to, park, and go in and be a consumer of. And I love just some of the creativity right here. We can go, I don't even know what restaurant this is, but we can go try the worst meatball sandwich this guy ever had on Yelp in his life in the store. So you're starting to see even some of that cheeky engagement of folks going analog to attract people into their stores. And I think, as I mentioned, I use it to try and decide where to eat. I think that's one of the also myths of Yelp, is that this is something for restaurants, right? If I have, a service company, if I have a retail boutique store, this is not for me. Well, that's actually not true whatsoever. Restaurants are only 19% of reviewed businesses. Shopping is 17%, so almost equal. Home and local services, if you can see all of those, right? It's about equal to restaurants. So they've got several different categories of businesses. So this is certainly not just for restaurants. I would say if you have any consumer-facing business, and really any business consumer-facing business, Yelp is something you should be looking into. And first and foremost, it's free. And yes, I know we can get into a lot of the other options, right? Like any service, there's certainly ways to pay for premium services and pay for advertising listings and really enhance how your store is being found on Yelp. But to get yourself on there, it's totally free, right? And again, it's such an important environment to be in. The latest stat I found is that Yelp is averaging more than 178 million unique visitors every month. That's a lot of eyeballs that are potentially seeing your business, especially here in a market like Chicago. And as I mentioned, just my little case of where I'm choosing to go eat when it's dinner time, right? This Yelp is really that opportunity to influence the moment people are ready to purchase, right? They're in a neighborhood, they want to know where to go shop, and you can drive them there. And I think the other myth too, right? People are so afraid of, well, what happens if I go on Yelp and people start talking negatively about my business? Well, the fact is, right, you see here almost 3/4 of reviews are 4 stars or higher. So for the most part, most of your reviews are going to be positive. And Yelp also does help with all the other digital SEO rankings, right? Yelp is considered an authority by search engines like Google. So being on Yelp, getting that interaction from consumers only helps increase your online presence in other platforms. And I would also say too, referencing the negative feedback, I think too many companies do shy away from that, right? And really the marketing, you should be encouraged. At least, these are consumers that at least care enough to tell you how they feel. And I would say there's almost more benefits in how you're perceived reacting to a negative review than receiving a positive review in the first place, right? This is your opportunity to publicly and transparently, respond to a consumer, publicly apologize or, show that you've corrected something. Or in the case of just a ridiculous consumer that everyone knows is being ridiculous, it's your chance to, kind of hold your head up high and professionally interact with them and let other people see that, right? So that just doesn't sit there unnoticed. So if your business isn't on Yelp, how soon can you get it on there? And then how might you encourage your customers to leave positive reviews on Yelp? Right? We see the Love Us on Yelp stickers certainly all over the place in windows, but you do have a little fun, a guy putting poking a little fun at the worst meatball sandwich, right? Encouraging just showcasing that bad review, kind of making fun of it. But right, I've seen in stores even little building blocks, right, showing the like count or the positive review count, analog way in a store, right? So what kind of display or encouragement can you give consumers? So the second, tool, and I'll shift to the tool. This one really does blend trend and tool, but really, learn from experiences. So different from necessarily the in-store experience of interacting with the brand, but it's really, how are you creating, organizing, experiences in your store that may not be directly related to the products you're selling. I guess one of, start thinking about, workshops, or you see a little pop-up concert, right? How are you engaging folks to get into your environment? And you're seeing some of this, right? Certainly related to some of the products they're carrying, but Whole Foods, right, for years, the cooking classes, wine tasting bars, in-store yoga classes, and Lululemon, right? How are we starting to engage customer desires and expectations related to our products, but not directly involving our products, right? And some studies are starting to show that, again, customer experience is overtaking price and product when it comes to customer loyalty. It's not necessarily the most important thing to have the lowest product or lowest price product. It's not necessarily the most important thing to have the product ready to ship that day. Customers with the right experience and the right retailer to interact with are willing to wait a few days if it comes down to it. And one tool, now to shift to the tool side, that really is starting to engage this is Airbnb. Certainly we know about Airbnb, right? They're the largest hoteler out there in the world. They don't own a single room. Well, now they're starting to launch Airbnb experiences. This has been around 2 or 3 years. And here are 2 examples that popped up right here in Chicago, actually taking place today, October 21st. You can go to this, take a cooking class, make traditional pasta from scratch, or you can also take a tour of the historic Pilsen neighborhood. So I don't necessarily know who's behind this. I assume the first one is probably the restaurant or the owning the storefront there. But the tour of Pilsen, that could just be a consumer in that neighborhood that just happens to know the neighborhood very well, right? Maybe they've lived there for a long time and want to share some of their knowledge about the neighborhood. But I think what really drives this home is thinking about your own business, your own neighborhood that you've been in. And maybe you live in and have set up a shop in the neighborhood you've lived in for decades, right? You know it, you grew up here. What do you have that you can share through Airbnb experiences that does tie people to your store, right? Maybe that's the landing place or the culmination of a tour, right? What talents, what skills related to your business could you give or teach through a workshop environment? And really leading to this question, looking at Airbnb experiences, what immersive or hands-on experiences can you offer in your store, in your neighborhood? Really thinking through how do we better engage consumers? Because at the end of the day, right, that we know that personalization, this hands-on experience, making it memorable, making it remarkable, this will ultimately bring people back to your store if you can tie your storefront into that. Maybe there's a cohort of stores on your block that you can team up together, and it's kind of a little tour of different workshops that happen in an afternoon. But I think you're seeing a lot of creativity happening through this Airbnb experience platform. And yes, they're the leading brand, but I think they're now, you've seen Airbnb, as far as the room sharing, we've seen that model, across all categories now, right? Certainly scooters here in Chicago, bikes, but you're also seeing car rentals, people being able to rent out their personal car. You're seeing even consumer products now, maybe higher-end products like certain construction equipment and things of that nature. So again, I think experiences you're going to start seeing growing across more platforms and more applications as people learn that, hey, you know what, I have something else to offer and be able to draw traffic into my store through that. Loyalty programs. Again, I guess if there's one theme here, right, it's really about engaging the consumer and making their store visit memorable. But this is certainly becoming more important than ever. Again, going back to that, you can't have Amazon, right? If we're getting people into our store, we really want to keep them there, right? How do we keep bringing them back? And one study has shown that just a 5% increase in consumer retention can increase your revenue anywhere from 25 to 95%. And certainly loyalty programs are a big part of that. I mentioned Kroger. I've certainly got a Kroger card in my wallet. I've got on my phone, I've got any number of loyalty apps from Family Express to McAllister's Deli, right? All of these different loyalty program apps that not only encourage me to go there, right? They're giving me coupons, they're showing me deals, but they're certainly rewarding me, right? Starbucks probably is the first one that comes to mind. As much as I love supporting local coffee, and actually we're going to hear from a great coffee shop later, sometimes the sheer convenience of, I happen to have some points in my account, or I already have my credit card saved to my Starbucks app, that sheer convenience sometimes wins out when these loyalty programs can help drive you to a certain storefront. And even at the massive retail level, we're starting to see even away from food and service companies, Target, Designer Shoe Warehouse, Macy's, Kohl's. They're all starting to implement new loyalty programs and starting to think like these other service or food accounts, and really encouraging people. Okay, how do we get people into Target more often? Because certainly that is the big box stores are the most accessible to Amazon, and seeing the most damage. Certainly Kmart and Sears, right, is where hometown Chicago corporation here. I mean, it's how they're even still open. I don't know, but there's not many left, and for not for much longer, I would guess. And then I guess the one thing to think about as far as loyalty programs, right? Thinking through the frequency, right? If you're a business and you only have occasional customers, that may not be the best application, but if you know that you've got a clientele that comes in monthly, certainly if they come in weekly, right? If we already have some engagement, that's certainly ripe for really implementing, a loyalty program and seeing how can we increase the traffic and the shopping through that customer base. And then I point out Vend POS. Certainly, if you go do a search for software or technology tools for loyalty programs, there's going to be hundreds that come up. Anything from Social Spire to Candy Bar to Perkville to Belly, right? There's any number of these software apps that help enable you as the business owner for customer loyalty. But you may already be using Vend, you may already be using Square. Those are two of the leading POS sales checkout platforms, and they also have built-in loyalty programs. So I'd certainly encourage you, take a look at the tools you're already using, right? There may very well be just easy add-ons to help encourage some of that loyalty. And not only, I guess, is loyalty important to help increase traffic, right? Loyalty programs are also helping us gather that valuable data about our consumers, right? What do they want? How am I changing my assortment based on what my consumers are shopping for? I have that database now. I have that information. Right? Communication. You're now creating a direct line to a consumer where it's not just a blank face somewhere buried in the email database, right? We have that communication piece because they've given us more information. And these are programs that are really self-sufficient. Once you set it up, sure there's some maintenance, sure there's some analytics, as far as the best practice, but this is really not something that you have to, keep actively working on, once a loyalty program is in place. So how many of your customers shop once a month or more? What relevant perks might you offer through a loyalty program? So designing for the gram, Instagram would be another important tool, quite honestly, right? It's I'd say one of the big three or big four as far as social media platforms that we certainly want to think about engaging with. And I love these examples of stores that really get it, right? They're creating that Instagrammable display, the Shoko Cafe. You're seeing this little boutique, bistro set for consumers to sit in, right? To share. And then this display, this is Converse shoes in a store. You're creating this holiday skull. So they actually do have a whole skull theme on a line of shoes, and they're taking the shoes and creating this really art display in the store. And this is a picture that it was easily found online because there was no shortage of folks that had shared it when visiting that store. And why Instagram? Why has Instagram become so popular? And I think it really is the fact that, look, photos are relatable, fun, right? We all like seeing things, pictures, speak 1,000 words, right? And when we're thinking about products in the retail environment specifically, about 65% of the top performing posts across Instagram clearly feature products. 60% of Instagram users have said they've discovered new products on the platform. Right? A little different than Facebook. This is not just about sharing pictures of the grandkids at a birthday party. Instagram really is an influential marketplace of where people are sharing about brands, sharing about products, sharing about businesses they've visited. And there's over 200 million people that have visited at least one business profile each day. So right, they're already engaging with brands, they're already engaging with businesses on the platform. And also that recommendation piece, right? It's that peer recommendation. Certainly we see some of that in Yelp, right? Going back to more that public recommendation, the transparency of reviews. But Instagram is more that peer-to-peer recommendation. And 83% of customers value those peer recommendations from family and friends. What are you sharing to your network on Instagram that a product you've liked or businesses you visited, and encouraging them to do the same. And then, again, just touching on some best practices with Instagram, right? It's not just the products, right? Getting back to that P2P, idea of, right? We do business with other people. It's not just a faceless store. There's people that own that store, right? How are you sharing your personality, the culture of your company? Sharing the people behind your company. It's not just the picture of the display, but then is there the picture of people setting up the display? Is there, the picture of going back to Sally? Maybe Sally now works at this store, and we're showing the picture of Sally, behind the counter, right? And so really getting into, showing the people and the culture behind our company. And no different than any other social media platforms, right? The use of hashtags, right? Instagram is certainly one of the big outlets for sharing big events like the World Cup or the Olympics. But then, right, are you creating a customizable hashtag? Certainly this would apply across other platforms as well. But right, how are you branding yourself through a hashtag? As you share different products. And then there's also the ability, right, running contests. There's location tags being used in Instagram. And so, right, there's a number of built-in tools that really help you use Instagram as a valid tool for your business. So how might you encourage your customers to visit your store using Instagram? And then once they're there, how might you encourage your customers to share your store, your business on Instagram? Going back to these going back to these examples, right? What are you creating in your store that's Instagrammable? And it doesn't have to be as high-end as a shoe display, art display made out of shoes, right? It could be a creative Halloween decoration that you've put in the storefront, right? Some sort of funny skeleton or whatever that may be, right? The holiday season with Christmas coming up. It may just be getting really creative with a holiday theme. But again, thinking about what am I putting in my store that would prompt someone to share that on Instagram. And then the final tool I want to touch on today is just messengers, right? Instant messengers, and how are we now interacting with our consumers? And again, going back to just the idea of trends and shifting consumer behavior and dynamics, more than half of consumers now prefer to contact customer service over a messaging system. It may be that chatbot on a website. It may be the instant message program because I'm now subscribed to them or connected with them. But the fact is, right, we want instant replies and instant service with our customer service, and we're now getting more used to doing that digitally. And again, by next year, upwards of 85% of customer business relationships are going to be through technology. Again, even that phone call you're making, right? There's a good likelihood, especially if you're a corporation, you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a chatbot or some sort of AI-enabled conversation. But certainly instant messenger and the two biggest platforms, Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. It's always funny to me, WhatsApp, if we were in any other country besides America, we'd be talking about WhatsApp. But it's certainly growing here in the US, but Facebook Messenger certainly dominates. And even on Facebook Messenger, 20 billion messages are sent between people and businesses every month. Again, this is not just conversations between friends. These are customers interacting with a business through Facebook Messenger. And WhatsApp for Business has 450 million active daily users. There's 5 million businesses on WhatsApp across the globe. So these have become very solid platforms. Actually, the two largest platforms by users anywhere as far as messaging. And one stat looking at, again, the chatbots and how are we using these messengers. There's over 100,000 chatbots out there that work or embed in Facebook Messenger, right? So again, no shortage of what to use, if you were to look at what chatbots to implement. But I guess the key there is that, this is not some untouchable technology. You think, man, I wouldn't know the first thing about, using a chatbot and being able to start that conversation with a consumer. There's any number of plug and play specific to industry, specific to type of interaction, and it's just finding that right tool for that. And really the chatbot aspect, this is how we engage that, right? We're automating conversations, right? It's that conversational marketing of now how do I start engaging with consumers, and some of that automation, right? Now we're starting to set up some of those instant replies. My business may close at 5, and I'm at dinner by 7 o'clock. A consumer reaches out to my store, my brand, and they're getting to interact with my brand even though I'm not there to actually type that out, right? Some of these chatbots are doing some of that for you. Because certainly there would be the FAQs, right? The frequently asked service questions that may get, right? Whether it be maybe your store hours or looking for a certain product, and that can all be enabled through chatbots, and certainly the customization that comes through that. So leading to this last question, just how might you engage with your customers using instant messenger apps? So that concludes, again, a quick run through. I know that was very high level. Hopefully a number of different trends and tools that you can now start thinking about. Definitely giving you some homework, hopefully to go out and look for more information. And one thing I did want to equip everyone with, so just for more information and resources, on your table you see a postcard that matches this presentation. On my site, JawBrain, there's a trends page and a tools page. I have set up basically sorted by each of these tools and trends, all of the different links and resources, reports that I used in putting this presentation together with. I just made those available there, so there's no strings attached. It is just absolutely a free site to go look at some of those information, depending on which one of these tools and trends you may have more interest in over than others. But I was happy to share that, and then that's my personal email if you want to reach out with any more questions. But appreciate your time this morning, and hopefully that queued up the interest, and now we're going to start taking a deep dive into some of these business manuals later this morning. I look forward to myself, so thank you.